Hello everybody. Sadly, it wasn't possible for me to be with you face to face in this session in which we are going to share ideas and results for what we have implemented these days. As I promised, I will share with you some ideas about corrective feedback. I hope you like this presentation and you find it useful. Well, the first thing I want us to think about is um, related to these two questions. The first one is what kind of spoken errors do you normally give feedback on during the face-to-face session? And have you found an effective strategy to correct the students? Which one, and how do you know perhaps it has been effective? I would like you to share this information with the people around you and discuss about it for some minutes. Well, now I want to start talking about the criteria for dealing with the spoken errors. For us teachers, sometimes it's pretty difficult to know if it is the right moment to correct an error or if it is not. And that's why I want to share with you this information proposed by some teachers who decided to make a list of questions for us teachers to or tutors to reflect upon the criteria for dealing with spoken errors. These are the guiding questions that these two people created for us to decide uh, if we have to let an error go or not. These questions are: does the mistake affect communication? Are we concentrating on accuracy at the moment, or perhaps we are just concentrating on fluency? Is it real? Is it really wrong, or is it my imagination? Why did the student make the mistake? What is the reason? Is it the first time the student has spoken for a long time? Perhaps it makes us decide if it is okay to interrupt or not, just for correcting an error. Could the student react badly to my correction? It also depends on these affective factors, depending on how well we know our students and how well we know the way they like to be corrected. Have they met this language point in current lessons? Do they have the knowledge? I mean, they know, or they are able to know that this is an error, or they are not, just because this is a topic they don't know how to handle. Is it something the students have already met? Is this a mistake that several students are making? Is it something that is repetitive? Would the mistake irritate someone? What time is it? What day is it? And what's the weather like? These three last questions perhaps sounds kind of strange, but I think they try to mean that many factors can influence on students making mistakes. In fact, it is pretty different to have class of Friday night than Monday morning, and perhaps those are factors that are going to affect. Sometimes we know till what point the students really know, and this is just a mistake, or if we really consider it as an error. The second part that I want to talk about is about practical techniques and ideas for correcting spoken English. Depends on the criteria mentioned before. If we decided that this is the moment, it is the right moment to make corrections on spoken errors, here we have some ideas, practical ideas on how to make those corrections. In fact, there are a variety of ideas, direct or indirect techniques to make corrections. First of all, I want you to watch this video and identify this list of techniques for making corrections in the video. Those are explicit correction, metalinguistic feedback, elicitation, clarification, request, repetition, recast, metalinguistic feedback, added to an explicit correction, clarification request, and elicitation at the same time. Based on the observations that I made on some of your lessons, I found out that repetition and recast perhaps are the techniques that we are using more frequently. So I want to show you this video, perhaps to have more variety of techniques that we can use. I would like you to watch it, please. Well, apart from these direct and indirect techniques to make corrections, there are some delayed corrections. The ones that we mentioned before are corrections that are done in the right moment in which the student is speaking. The difference with these ones is that we don't interrupt students' participation. We just make a delayed correction. Perhaps those are techniques that may work. I have implemented some of them, and I think they are good ones. The first one is noting down errors. Some authors call them hot cards. The idea with this technique is to focus on students' mistakes, but in general. So the idea is that you can just now note down, make notes about all the mistakes or errors that students have committed during the class, and by the end of the class you can share with them, or if perhaps you devote one special moment of the class just to provide this feedback and share with the students. This technique can be a good one, or can be useful, because you are not telling the student directly you committed the mistake, you made a mistake, but it is in general. So the ones that knew that they had that mistake, they may correct it. The other way is to note down, but in this case individually. Perhaps when your students are presenting their speaking session tasks, you can just take a piece of paper and individually write down comments or suggestions, and write down mistakes that these people or this person exactly have made, and share with this person later a feedback in terms of grammar, pronunciation, and rest of perhaps corrections that you find necessary to do. A second technique, delayed correction technique, is recording. Some authors mention recording as a way to also make corrections, but in general. So some teachers have just record in general when students are participating, and then they take this tape and they ask students to listen to it again in order to self evaluate or find mistakes that they can correct together. Another way around for recording is to invite the students to record themselves while they are speaking, perhaps also when they are participating about the speaking session task. For example, they can record themselves, and later on they can listen to themselves and make a self-evaluation and make comments and report you about the comments or the errors that they could find. Well, I found that implementing corrective feedback has some advantages. Some of them are awareness. Why awareness? Because the students become aware about the gaps in their spoken English. And also they can see how their spoken English is improving. So in the way we correct them and we help them identify their aspects and difficulties they have, and they may correct. Perhaps in this way they can be aware about that some of them just make mistakes, but they don't even know they are making mistakes. A second one is the identification of aspects to be improved. Sometimes they know they need to improve things, but they don't know exactly why. What if we help them in this identification of aspects, specifically improve on this, the pronunciation of this word, improve on the misuse of this grammar topic, you are not using it properly. Now they have kind of goals for improving. Self-regulation development, of course, in the moment they are identifying aspects to be improved, they start self-regulating. You're going to see that in this process, perhaps you're going to see that they start with some self-correction processes too, that now they are not going to wait for you to make corrections, but now they are going to pay attention to their own participations and correct themselves. And finally, it is about the student's progress. Perhaps this is also a way for us tutors to identify what is how students are progressing, if they are advancing or not, and let them know. This time you didn't make the mistake, or you are repeating a mistake that you made before. I already made a correction on this, and you see you have improved. This today I didn't make any correction, yeah, or the repetitive mistake you made before, now it has disappeared. So perhaps this is a way also for us to keep track of students' progress. Perhaps you have in mind other affordances or other advantages that implementing corrective feedback has, so I would like you to tell us and let us know about it, if you can discuss perhaps for some seconds, minutes. Well, I hope you like my presentation. Sorry for not being there face to face. I have a task that is more than a task, it's like a challenge for us during this week, this last week in which we are going to have like formal classes. I would like you to select two strategies from the ones that we mentioned, or techniques that from the ones that we mentioned before, some that you have not used before, in order to implement them or try them on during this week. And if it is possible for you to share next session about which of these two strategies that you selected, which one of them is the most effective and why, and how was your students' response to those strategies. Thank you so much. Here there is there are some links for you to explore if you want further information about this topic. I hope you have a nice meeting. See you around.